Hello, good evening. How is everybody?
The sun is out.
Yes. You haven't seen us on YouTube in a while. As per usual, we're always doing something. We're always working.
Period.
You know?
No days off.
No days off. And I'd like to say, if people wondered where we were still active, but on TikTok. And the reception on TikTok has been amazing. So I'd like to say thank you.
Because the energy's way off the charts
there. Like in a couple of weeks, wasn't it? It just went pew.
Period.
So you go where you celebrated is the main point. The other thing that we wanted to say was, I really want to remind everybody that, holding arms, we didn't start this channel to just be dissing. It's not about dissing. The point is, there's so many isms and schisms between us with this race thing, hair thing, colorism, even within races, which is all a made-up thing. The point is that a lot of the things we've been taught is propaganda. It's not true, and all it does is it adds fuel to the separation. Who was it that and I don't like him much, but I do agree with his statement.
Black billionaire meets a white billionaire. Do you think there's any racism? Do you think they care? He's a billionaire, I'm a billionaire, both our yachts are in Monaco. He's from Algeria, he stole all the gold. I'm a stock market whatever. There's no racism. The racism's for the poor people.
Andrew Tate, I had a
What did he say?
Because if you keep the poor people divided, they can't wake up long enough to do what I did and read about how money works. Because if they do that, we're got big trouble, right? Then the slaves will wake up. You don't want to deprogram the slaves, so you have to convince the slaves that it's not the monetary system's fault that you're broke. It's not the monetary system's fault that you continue to work for a set number of dollars and the price of houses just keep going up and up and up. It's not the monetary system's fault, it's the white man's fault.
He said racism is for poor people, which it is.
Or the black man's fault, or the Asian people's fault, someone else's fault.
At the end of the day, you've got to remember that the people at the top, there's less of them than there are of us.
I think all this stuff, feminism, racism, all these things, I think they're all control mechanisms. They have to keep the poor people fighting amongst each other, because if the poor people all unite, then it's much harder to control us.
And I've been trying to tell you from the start that not all of them are white. You know, people have this perception that the man is white, and yes, the face is, but for generations, it's been diverse. And to be honest, if you're, all right, like we saw the other day, we teach you all of these things about history that is not taught in school, and history prior to the 19th, 18th, 17th century. And the thing they didn't let you know is that people of colour were always here.
Please.
And for me personally, the answers have been in my family because we're very diverse. But when I even checked out, what my grandma told me about her white Jew grandmother who's married to her black grandfather, who was an Oghul. The Oghuls, if you look back, they took colonization, the idea, but in the sense of reforming people in prison and poor people, the idea of allowing them to find themselves in America. The Oghuls apparently worked very close with Queen Elizabeth I, who I might add was swarthy. And if you don't believe me, you need to get the book The Life and Death of Anne Boleyn, which is her mother, who was tawny, and tawny is brown. So if white people are trying to make this tawny thing white, you're being silly, because a tawny owl is what colour, and a tawny dog is what colour, and a swarthy person or a high German is this colour, you know, along with the Goths. So wearing black, it had nothing to do with being vis-Gothic. It was about being black. And all of these things, you can go and search for yourself, but we will definitely do shows on them.
Well, they've got the show coming out now on Netflix.
Elizabeth.
Queen Charlotte. They're portraying her as like a mixed race or light
skin. Well, this is the thing anyway. This whole thing about, as we've said before, we've shown you, we've given you the scientific evidence. You can go and look it up. Being black or being white is either the absence of having melanin or having melanin. Melanin determines your eye color, your hair color, and your skin color. So if you have a lot of melanin, obviously you're going to be what? Very black. You're going to have very black eyes or dark brown eyes till they're black, like they say Queen Elizabeth I had, and black hair. This whole white face thing and ginger wig. Anyway, we do have books and things about all of that.
And what does it say? If we're just gonna avoid the fact that people wear black, then just going along with the hair being red, isn't that a sign of being black or having like hereditary genes of blackness?
At the end of the day, if you don't, at the end of the day, we've shown you can be black and have white skin. You can be black, have white skin and not be albino. You can be black, two black people have a white child who is not albino. We've shown you videos and information on that, you know, and also in the reverse, there has been couples and there's been films about it that have had children, and one of the children turned out and looks straight black.
Yeah.
And people think, nah, you slept out, but the tests have been done and it's not so. The absence of colour is having white skin or having light hair or having blue eyes like my children's father, you know. And at the end of the day, if you go and look it up yourself, the scientific example, the way they word it is, it's the inability to create melanin. Having white skin is just the inability to create or produce melanin. So once you know that, you can argue, well, then why do we have straight hair? Well, that's another thing we could do a show on. The Afro Asiatics, which some people said it's not a thing. Well, if you look at the Ethiopians, right, and you look through the history of the religious wars and all of that, including Haile Selassie, it will say, you'll get to a part where it will say they were Afro-Asiatics, and also 90% of white people have their genetics in them, and don't they have straight noses and straight hair, some of them, or wavy hair? At the end of the day, we all just variations of genes. Exactly. And if a really black person gets with a really black person, there's a high probability that child's going to be very black. If a really white person and a really white person gets together, there's a high probability that child's going to be really white. It's like mixing paint. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Anyway, this is the whole reason why we do this show, to like really speak on these subjects, because I think it's actually the problem that people don't speak on the subjects. And some people might say, oh, it doesn't exist anymore, but my youngest, who is mixed race, came in yesterday and said she actually went to her son's mom and blazed her out till she apologized, because he was being racist. He was using derogatory terms, and I was just like, but you know, you shouldn't feel insulted because you know all of this information. It's not an insult, it's just your lack of knowledge. You know, ignorance. Why are you showing off about not being able to create melanin when we know that melanin, some of its components, well, it is carbon. We've shown you that the sun is carbon, which makes everything grow. So why would you be showing off about having the inability to create melanin, which rejuvenates your cells and all of that?
These times you burn in the sun when you go Alicante.
Please. Didn't that happen to your father? That was my fault. I made him put on
please
suntan
don't
lotion.
get me started.
The point is, like, we can tear shreds out of each other, but it's either you have dominant genes or recessive.
Exactly. It's just
and I think
simple.
we need to just stop chatting rubbish, because I've got a little, I'm sure it's from all the black talks. Every time I have these black and white talks, I'm getting little vitiligo specs. I am. I might turn white.
You're gonna do that voice as well?
Yeah. I only eat chips and fish fingers, chicken. I ate that stuff. Hair oil. What's that?
I'm screaming.
We will be back with more. But for now, stay blessed, stay sweet, and we're coming back to you. And sorry it's taken us so long. Mwah.
When my daughter was born, she had dark skin and looked like her parents could be of African descent. My husband was furious and accused me of cheating and left right then and there. He told everyone on both sides of the family what happened and wanted a divorce. Eventually, he agreed to do a paternity test, and he was 100% the father. No one could believe this, so we did it again, and he was the dad. One of his cousins did the ancestry thing and found out there was 30% of African in their family. This made Jim's paternal great-grandmother admit to having an affair on the same time Jim's grandfather was born, and because he could pass as hers, she just assumed her husband was the father.